right. Hello, Austin from Swimming with Dolphins. How are you today?
Not too bad. I did think it was Wednesday actually when we got on the phone, and now I noticed it's Tuesday, so that was a little bit of a bummer to just realize that.
Yeah, it's
Not
always
knowing
a
what day it is, I'm doing pretty good.
yeah, it's always a letdown.
Yeah.
How's the day been so far then? Besides that,
Not too bad. Yeah, just chipping away. Kind of tweaking some old songs and laying out a foundation for what will be used in the new album.
is that what most of your days look like? Is that what you do?
Currently, I do a lot of different things. I kind of I did like the desk office job for about a year and a half at a music house in Minneapolis, and licensed other people's music and stuff. And then I still work with some artists for that company, but it's very remote work now, so I'm able to be at home and work on my music now once again. It's been a long time, so it's kind of like, taking out all your old, I don't know, collection of things and just going through it and figuring out where you left off.
Yeah, that's kind of nice though. Even if you do have to go to the desk and office job, you still get to do something with the music.
Yeah, that part of it was fine. It's just kind of funny how once you dive into a workplace, it's like really hard to jump back and forth between creative and just working, like making money, and that whole mentality is a totally different world. So it took me a long time to kind of realize like I'm really hungry to make music again, and so here I am. I guess like 2 years later or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So you're out in Minneapolis, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually was out in Minneapolis 2 weeks ago, last week. Very recently.
Oh, cool.
And the biggest takeaway that I got from my visit to Minneapolis was that the airport is freaking huge. They have the like the little conveyor belts that you walk on,
Yeah.
just all over the place. Just
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's split between two terminals. I don't know which one you came in, but it's kind of confusing because it's kind of like one big airport, but it's two separate terminals, and there's like a shuttle between there. So I'd imagine you came in the main one. I think it's just Terminal 1 now or whatever, and that one's pretty big, but there's a whole other terminal that you probably didn't even see. It gets really confusing if you're leaving. You have to always check and see which flight you're on, because certain airlines come out of one and certain ones come out of the other. So it can get really messy.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going.
Yeah, definitely messed that one up before. And it was actually the last time we flew out to play a show, we were at the wrong terminal. And then we realized 30 minutes or 40 minutes before the flight, we had to get over to the other terminal, and it was like this. Oh man! But the flight ended up being delayed 4 hours, so it worked.
Of course it did. There you go.
Yeah. So it all worked out.
So have you been playing live at all recently? Like, is that something you've been doing?
No, not at all. Not even like in other people's bands or anything. It's kind of to go with what I was saying before about just like eventually, I think if you're a creative person, or you're somebody who, everybody has something that they really want to do with their lives, and I think if you suppress that, or you like kind of push that away for a while, it's fine, it works, like you can live and you can make money and you can feel fulfilled doing other things, but ultimately, I think if it's a strong enough passion of yours, it surfaces again, and it doesn't really matter. I don't know, it could take 2 years, it could take 30 years, or it could take 2 months, everybody's different, I guess, but for me, I guess that, it's just a matter of time before I just realized, I gotta make music again, and I gotta do something with Swimming With Dolphins again.
Well, yeah, it's been, what, 2 years since your last release, Watercolors?
Yeah, let's see, so, wow, I guess, that's about 3 years now. And so I think we kind of stopped playing shows like I guess it'd probably be like 2011, I think, is when we kind of slowed down and everybody in the band kind of went separate directions and all that stuff. But
Yeah. So just talk for a second about Watercolors, about, what went into making that album and your experience with that, how that was.
it was a really cool experience, in the sense that it was like you're in a studio, you have a record label behind you, you have a budget, you have producers. It was very official, if you will. And so, as opposed to Ambient Blue, the EP that Adam and I worked on together in his basement way back, to start everything, it was, I don't know, it was very different. It was, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this is a serious thing. I'm a real band. I have expectations now, and I have like things to live up to. And so it was really cool to experience that, but it was kind of scary too. A lot more cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, and a lot of different thoughts and ideas about what you do, with the album, and the entire aesthetic of the project at that point was poised to, make a big change. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I took away a lot from it, good and bad, criticisms or things that I would do differently myself. But, so I just kind of, I think that's what life is, though, really. You just, you live out something and you take the opportunities you have to learn and grow and do it better the next time around, and always be progressing,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there must be a fair bit of pressure in that sort of situation. Not necessarily in a bad way, but, I mean, it just has to be there, right?
Yeah. You kind of can't let it get in your head too much, otherwise that interferes with what you do. But it when you stop and think about it, sometimes, yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah, makes sense. So you briefly mentioned, the sort of beginning phases of Swimming with Dolphins. And, you talked about Adam, who I assume is Adam Young from Owl City, yes?
Yeah, we more or less grew up together, some mutual friends, and just kind of would hang out. We lived about 2 hours apart, but finally got to a point in my life where once again I was suppressing my music passions, and I was in college and just not really feeling it, and happened to start exchanging some music ideas with him, and then we just started hanging out and writing stuff, and that's kind of just, I guess, the birth of Swimming with Dolphins kind of came out of all that, because he was Owl City, it was like his project, and I would help if I could in ways I could, and then we kind of became two projects. And so I sang and wrote Swimming with Dolphins, he wrote Owl City. So, and I don't know, it was a really cool relationship. We had a really great writing chemistry, and he taught me a lot too. So, really grateful for that entire experience, really. But it's kind of crazy how you look back on the way things go and where you are and what shapes you and brings you to today. And so, once again, I think to look at both experiences with each of those albums, and I think the way Ambient Blue is made is much closer to my heart and the way I want to make a record this time around. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, so kind of beyond that relationship with Adam, what have been, some of the other musical influences that have, shaped your music and shaped the kind of stuff you make?
Sure. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's probably so many things that I don't really realize influenced me, but I've always kind of had just a big heart for like Van Morrison and some like older soul, like rock kind of stuff. I love the Strokes. They're like one of my favorite bands of all time, and it's so some of that stuff is so far off from Swimming with Dolphins, so it's kind of, like I said, I don't know, maybe there's places where it does connect, and there's other places where it's like, that doesn't sound anything like it. Like, why would you even make a band like Swimming with Dolphins? But, because I never really grew up, Swimming with Dolphins is pretty electronic and almost trancey at times, but I never really grew up listening to trance music either. I mean, like ATV was some incredible stuff that was influential at a point, but it was, it's not like that goes way back really. I mean, that's the 90s. So it's not like your roots really, But yeah, I think if you really had to boil it down to what really musically kind of floats my boat, it's just like a lot of like R&B, soul, like some of the founding people of that, like Stevie Wonder, Otis Redding.
Yeah, I mean, because even if you listen to stuff like that, and then you come into a studio with access to all these electronic tools and that sort of stuff, you can still be influenced by the old stuff, but when you make your music, it's going to sound different because you're not using the same the same techniques.
I think that's kind of how it works. I mean, I like to think of it as being a sponge when you absorb a ton of things that inspire you, and then when you go to create, you kind of just squeeze out that sponge, and nothing comes out. They don't come out divided or as individual things as the way they went into the sponge. They all kind of just smush out together, and then that's like what you listen to, and that's what you felt and made based on what inspired you. So.
Yeah. So then moving forward, more towards your new project, Catharsis, which you're working on funding now. Can you just talk a little bit about that and the funding process and what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, it was kind of it's something that I was reluctant to get back into, to be completely honest. Just didn't really know if I really was ready to just dive in and make an album, because there's a lot that goes into it. It's exhausting to think about going through that whole process for watercolors again. Like, that was a really exhausting album to make. A lot of really high highs and really low lows, and stop and go and hurry up and slow down, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess with that kind of in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I really want to be careful if I ever make an album again, how I'm going to do it. And so I don't know. I'm a pretty spiritual guy, and I believe that when God wants you to do something, he kind of makes it happen, despite what your opinion or what your thoughts are about it, and he puts it in front of you if it's supposed to happen. And so I've just, as of lately, like the last few months, I've just received a lot of signs, if you will, and things that were like, okay, it's time, and it's time to just do it. And other doors closing for opportunities in life and things that I was thinking about doing and whatnot. And so all paths just kind of pointed back to, okay, it's maybe time to make music again. And with the way that, something like Indiegogo works and Kickstarter and all that jazz, like, you really turn back to your fans, and I'm in a position also where I can do that, because this album is an independent release, and it's going to be something where, it's, I guess my hope is that it feels like a very a big group effort, that everybody that has stuck with me along the way can also be involved in helping make this album a reality. And I know it's overdue, and people have talked about, like, when you're coming out with another album, and get a message like that every day. And so, yeah, my hope, I guess, is that we just all dive in this together, and the funds will come through if they're supposed to, and I can push out what I feel like is overdue, and what I feel like I have to share with the world,
Yeah, so if the funds don't come through, will you end up not making the album, or will it just be, a different album? Like,
yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a question mark right now. I think the likely, in the situation that, let's say half the funds come through, I probably would have to split the album in half, or, maybe just do an EP for now and build up some more steam, and then finish a full length next, or something. I don't know. I mean, I kind of don't want to worry about that bridge until I'm there to cross it, and just, so I have 29 days to not worry about it, I guess. But it's kind of working within your means, and I'm no rich dude, so I'm not just sitting at home on stacks of money and time to burn. It's like money comes in, that some of that I have to live off while I make it, and it'll get me through, So however far the dollars I can stretch.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
So with Catharsis, what would be your goals musically? Like, are you looking to branch out with this album, or is it, be more, stuff that sounds really similar to what you've been doing? Like, what are your ideas? What ideas do you have for this project?
Sure. I kind of want to let the album breathe a little more, and part of my experience with watercolors was, like I said, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of really talented people involved in the album, and it turned out wonderful, like sonically very cohesive and very well done. But I felt like it might have lost a couple pieces of me in there. Like I've always thought about that, like what would have happened if I would have just finished those songs on my own, and how would they have sounded? So part of the idea behind Catharsis, and even the name, really, if you think about the meaning of the word, it's kind of a redemption and a cleansing, if you will. And so I think my biggest goal with this album is just to not overthink the songs, and to just really put something out that is just, kind of trust your gut, and just go with what you're making, and don't manipulate it too far, and don't try to make it something more than it's not, really. So in terms of style and the way it's going to sound, I think it's definitely still going to sound like me, and it'll identifiably be Swimming with Dolphins, but I think there'll be some twists in there, and some turns, a couple surprises, I think. Let's put it that way. Got to keep it interesting. You can't make the same music over and over again. You get bored when that happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting listening to you talk about working in the studio alone versus, getting input from, tons of other people. I think I mentioned to you that I interviewed Adam a year ago, I think now.
Yeah.
And he had almost like, the completely opposite viewpoint on this.
Yeah.
As to what you've been saying. He was like, my entire life I've been in the studio, pretty much alone, not getting a lot of input. But he said for his next album he wanted to, get all sorts of, different collaborators in there with him and all that sort of stuff. So do you think it's just a creative preference? I mean,
sure.
Or is it something that, at different points in your career, different things work best?
I think that's kind of true. Obviously if one person has a bad experience making an album by themselves, they're probably not going to turn around and go do it again the next time. They're going to get help. So, I could learn a huge lesson once again in a completely opposite way with this album. But, I guess with that being said, it's not like, I guess I don't have doors closed to working with anybody else. It's not like this is going to be my, just my baby that I make by myself and nobody else can touch it. But I want to get closer to that realm, because I've drifted pretty far away from that.
Right.
Last time around. But I don't know. It's it kind of depends upon what your goal is too. I mean, somebody, the position that Adam has now, I'm just speculating. He's probably got a lot of pressure to release bigger songs, so it would make more sense if he has the means to do it, to work with people that are going to, more likely something that is successful monetarily. So it kind of varies.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you can hear the change in the music when that happens. So I think we should probably get ready to wrap this up.
Cool.
But before we finish, can you just I make everyone do this and everyone hates it, but I still keep it going. Can you just tell me in 30 seconds or less why someone should, donate to this project, why someone should listen to your music, why someone should get excited about this?
Yeah, I think that you should, I guess it's not even like, contribute funds to me. I'm not really a big person on like pleading with people. I think that if at any point you've listened to Swimming with Dolphins and you've enjoyed it, this is a worthwhile investment, and you're just pre-ordering an album if you, at the very minimum, donating $10. So it's like, I mean, if you plan on going out and buying that album anyways, that's the whole concept behind a fundraising campaign anyways. But I mean, why? I just think that it's a pretty incredible day and age that you can associate that closely with the artists you admire and the artists you listen to, and you can like hands-on help an artist make an album now. And like, how was that possible years and years ago? Like, someone can literally send me an email right now and say, hey, like, will you do this for me, and then I'll give you $10. And, that's so unheard of. I don't know. It's crazy. It blows my mind when I think about it sometimes. But I would just say, yeah, if you want to feel like you did something and you really greatly helped and you were a part of the making of Catharsis, donate if you feel so led.
Yeah, I mean, and I think also, it's cool to think, if I donate to this project and then you end up making this really fantastic album and I'm listening to it and I'm loving it, it's really cool to think.
Yeah.
This would not have happened without me, and I think people are really drawn to that.
Yeah, totally. It's a pretty rare day and age, with the internet and music and independent artists and the fans that support them, and this is a direct connection to those two things. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. All right, so I think we are going to let you go back to thinking it's Wednesday when it's actually Tuesday.
It's a good thing I have another day now, so I'm a little more on schedule than I thought I was.
Yeah, exactly, right? All right, well, thank you very much for coming on the show today, Austin.
Cool, thanks, man.
We will keep spreading the word about Catharsis, and I mean, hopefully everything works out, right? I mean, I know I'm personally very much looking forward to a new album from you.
Dude, thanks a lot. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah, I mean, stay in touch and good luck. I mean, I'm sure it'll work out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again for coming on, Austin. Pleasure talking with you. And once again, good luck. Good luck. I hope it all works out.
All right, Chris. Thanks for your time.